Sometimes I don't know if I believe in life after death or not, but there are certain things that make me wonder.
I believe people either go to heaven or they cross over into the spiritual realm, or they decide that they don't deserve to cross over into the spiritual realm, so they kind of hang around on the earthly plane.
I don't know. I couldn't say yes, I couldn't say no. I mean, there's no real proof that it does exist, and there's no real proof that it doesn't.
As you take a look into modern spirituality, it is clear that it is stemmed from the wide abundance of asylums around the world. It was unknown how many of them were operating behind closed doors, so it led to many theories as to how these patients were treated. It is known that a lot of supernatural experiences have taken place in many of these abandoned asylums. Curiosity is what ultimately led to exploration. Kings Park Psychiatric Center is one where the patient practices were widely debated. Kings Park Psychiatric Center, formerly known as Kings County Asylum, operated from 1885 through 1996. There were over 150 buildings, each with different purposes, housing different patients. The Psych Center is located in Kings Park in Long Island, New York. It is known as one of the most famous asylum buildings on Long Island. In 1994, the patient census topped 9,303 people. Many invasive techniques of prefrontal lobotomies and electroshock therapy were used. Eventually, in 1996, it was clear that less patients were being admitted, so it shut down. The remaining patients were either released or transferred to Pilgrim State. After it had been abandoned, lots of people visited out of curiosity. Many have experienced strange occurrences that may be linked to the outstanding number of patients who never left after they passed.
I've been to Kings Park exploring it over the years, I would say about 12 to 15 times.
Over 65 times.
I started going there about 2013.
How to count? I don't know, I wouldn't count.
Oh, I was there with two of my friends. We were goofing off, doing what people do when they throw things out the window. Listen for the bang and laugh at it. Well, we threw out a brick. Fell. We were on the top floor, and it fell and it made a loud bang. We were laughing, and out of nowhere we hear a child's laugh, and we stopped and we looked at each other and we said, "Was it you? No, was that you? No. Get the hell out of here." We got the hell out of there as fast as we could. We didn't know what the hell it was.
One of the best experiences that I had about Kings Park that was supernatural, I would say, or at least weird, very weird, is when I went to building 15, my favorite building. In the basement, I was there with my nephew, Chris, and we had a thing when we go someplace that's supposed to be haunted, we never take anything home with us because you don't want to bring spirits home with you. And he already knew that, so we were walking around this basement. This was, I think, probably the first time we were in there. And we were walking around this old recreation room, and there was a lot of stuff on the floor, patient files and stuff, which I recovered from there, because they shouldn't have been there, but that was much later. That's the day I went by myself to get it. But what I did, we were walking around, and I saw these chess pieces on the floor. There was a couple of them scattered near one of the columns in the basement room, and I was looking at them, and for some reason, I started thinking, like maybe the patients, at that time I was already planning to write a book. I was really thinking about it hard, like maybe the patients want their story told. Maybe that's why all these patient files were on the floor, so that I could find them and see what was going on with them. So I was thinking, they want me to tell this story, or do they? I don't know. I was kind of on the edge there, but then I saw the chess piece on the floor, and I was thinking like, I could be like a knight for them to tell their story, and as I didn't have, but I'm not a white knight. Black Knight maybe, because I like to wear black. So I was like, if I find a Black Knight chess piece on the floor, then I will take that. So I was looking around, and there it was. I found one of them, cleaned off the dust, and I walk up to my nephew and said, Chris, I know I said we shouldn't take things home with us when we go to these places, but for some reason I felt this Black Knight, I was very drawn to it. I felt like I had to pick it up and take it home if I could find it, and I did find it. So he turns around and he's holding the other Black Knight, and he tells me, I was trying to wonder how I could tell you the same thing, because I know you don't want us to take anything home, but I have the other Black Knight. And he's showing it to me. We're both holding the Black Knight. What are the chances that we're both going to pick up the Black Knight, even though we both said we would never take anything home from the hospital? So later on, when I got home, I decided to look at the old pictures that I had from the old websites of that building in particular, and some pictures from Lost in Time and this other website that Sean Hardy had. I see pictures of inside of building 15, and it says Ward 61.
Just wait 1 second.
And it says,
No.
it says, welcome to Ward 61. On either side is a Black Knight chess piece on this banner. And I don't know, maybe it was subconscious that I remember seeing that, or maybe it's just a coincidence that I just happened to get the Black Knight, and there are these Black Knights on these banners for that inside of that building. But I don't really believe in coincidence. I think everything happens for a reason. I felt that was like them telling me, yeah, write the book for us.
In 93, when we go up, we go all the way up to the top floor, not the attic, the floor right before the attic. And I cleaned off all the windowsills so we could sit in the windowsill from the glass and shit. And I cleaned out all the windows, picked the glass out the rail. Anyway, so we're sitting there. We go up, put our drinks down, we put our food down. Usually the first thing we do is sit down, like a Coke or something. And well, I have a Coke and probably, a Kit Kat or York Peppermint Patty or something. My friend Rob goes, hey! And I look to where we just came from, and there's a black shadow of someone about my height. Look, and we couldn't tell if he was looking at us or away from us, but we felt he was looking at us. And we go, hey! And it runs down the hallway. So what do? We run after him. And it takes the left to go down the staircase. And we take the left to go down the staircase. We stop at the staircase, because if someone's running down the staircase, you can hear him. We didn't hear him. And then we're thinking about it, we didn't hear him running down the hallway either. We didn't know what the hell that was. I mean, we thought, oh, it's probably nothing. And we continued on with our shenanigans, but like the rest of that night, I was like, me and my friend Rob, like, what the hell was that? It could have been a person. It would have made a sound. Yeah, we don't really know what it was.
It was me and two of my friends, so we went out there to take pictures. And so we went into this one building, we were trying to get in, but it's all boarded up, like recently too, so there was no way to get in. None of the windows were like able to like jump in or anything, so everything was boarded up. So we both, like, we went and we looked into the window, we were trying to see like if there's another way in, and we saw someone like run by, but we didn't see anyone like around. There was no one around or no one in the building or anything.
Well, I have a couple of videos, but I have three. 3 is always the number to pay attention to. Significant, because 3 is of importance. Have a picture of the door. Have a picture of the door swinging on its own in the wind. I have that. I have another video of a shadow figure that appeared on the wall. also have a picture of some film of somewhat of a silhouette passing through and a voice that appears beforehand. My favorites, all three of them. I love them.
Another time, we were on top of. Shit, I was confused with two. There's 7, and you have, I think it's 21 and then 22. Like you're facing 2 buildings. 21 is to the right, 22 is to the left. We were on top of 21, the one to the right, if you're facing the 2 buildings. And we were trying to figure out how to get to the other building. And we saw that the people we were going to hang out with, you know, another 2 friends, were having a barbecue in the other building. And I'm like, oh shit, we gotta back down the stairs and go through and up again. So we turned around, we started walking back, and where the staircase is to go to the roof, there's like a little, like, hut, for like a better way, you know, like a little, like, area to go up and go outside. And I'll never forget this because he was a big kid. I mean, if I was to stand up, I'm about 5'9", he had to have been 6'6", heavy build, heavy, not muscular, but just heavy. White t-shirt, white hat with the backwards, facing backwards, black jeans, and black shoes, kind of like mine. And he walks out, and he walked around to the back of that hut. Didn't say a word, and didn't make a sound. I'll never forget that. And we shouted to him, hey, you know, are you going to the barbecue? And he didn't even turn. He just kept walking. So I ran to, you know, whoa, you know, what are you doing? You know, who are you? And I almost ran off the top of the building because on the other side of that, I'm going to call it a shed. On the other side of that area is the edge of the building. There's no way someone could have walked around that. That freaked us out. That really freaked us out. Like, even now, I'm freaking out a little. Yeah, that's just something I'll never forget.
The patients at Kings Park Psychiatric Center, or Kings Park State Hospital, what it was for most of the time, they weren't tortured when they were there. I talked to a lot of patients, and there was a lot of patients that were abused, but it wasn't so much like tying them down and beating them. It wasn't like torture or anything. Not like you see in movies and stuff like that. Most of the patients were treated good. A lot of the employees I spoke to are pretty nice people. A lot of them say that the patients were more like family to them, and I've seen proof of that because there's one patient that I talked to who liked being there, and all he did was play ping pong the whole time he was there. There was another patient who liked it so much that after he left, he came back and got a job there.
Things they did was interesting, and some things they did is horrible, and some things is like, oh, like why did they do electric shock treatments and the lobotomies and all that stuff? But then all the medical advances that got past that.
Thorazine was your remedy for your lobotomy. Thorazine, what killed the whole industry was the pharmaceutical companies.
I mean, I've heard conflicting things from there. I've heard that yes, they were. I've heard no, they weren't. I can tell you that the staff was very dedicated. I've spoken to a few people who worked there. They were very dedicated to their work. You can even see it throughout some of the buildings. The papers that they would fill out, they would write everything down. Not just as their job, but they would write it neatly so you can actually read it.
I know exactly what they should do with the buildings, and they're not doing it. Hello, there's a park there, right? Make money. Get like trolley. Of course, you're gonna have to fence it off somehow, and you're gonna have to secure the buildings. But I'm sorry, but if you're gonna keep them up, make a trolley car, pay people, drive around past every single building and say, this building was for this and that, and there's a story about one time in 2014, or, well, go back further, 1959, this happened here and this was built in this, it was for that reason. Take the whole trolley car around to every building and tell them exactly what,
Almost like an outdoor museum.
like an outdoor museum, and make some money off of it.
All people want to go in there. It'd be nicer if they could just like maybe take some of the stuff and turn it into some kind of tours that they can do. Maybe make museums.
They had their opportunity to do things with it when the place first closed. I heard that developers came in and wanted to buy the place. It was a cheap price at first, but what the state wanted was they wanted to make the developer abate all of the asbestos in all of the buildings in like a period of 3 years. That now it's economically prohibitive. You can't do that. It's financially impossible of that. I would personally like to see at least 93 saved.
Lots of people have deeper, more personal views when it comes to the spiritual world. Spirituality often comes in many forms and many people. Oftentimes, therapists ultimately become the most spiritual people through their connections to other people. Janice O'Connor is a psychotherapist that specializes in adolescent and child therapy. She has learned a lot about patients and about herself through her practice.
I kind of always knew I was different. I didn't know what it was, so I had lots of issues as a teenager as far as like self-esteem and feeling different, and I drank a lot to kind of numb myself out. But I always knew that I wanted to help people. So when I got into doing therapy, and I started getting kids on my caseload that had psychic abilities, I started researching it, and then kind of found out my whole life had kind of prepared me for doing spiritual work. Currently, right now, I have three teenagers I have 2 teenagers who can see spirits. I have 1 teenager that feels them. One of my teenagers came in with anxiety. Long story short, the anxiety was kind of picking up a spirit in the house, just kind of feeling different when she would go into different rooms. Knew something was there because her dog would constantly stare off into the corner, so we kind of talked about her abilities and that kind of stuff. My other patient is freaked out about it. To her older sister, so there was a spirit in the house that was a little girl that they all played with when they were little kids. So everybody thought it was an imaginary friend. So the oldest sister, now I have the second one, and then the 2 other ones also saw the imaginary girl. But the one that I currently have now gets freaked out by noises, shapes. She'll see shapes of people. The father has kind of seen stuff kind of, swipe by really fast. She'll go walking into the room and it'll feel cold. She'll kind of see, like in the doorway, kind of what she'll describe as almost kind of like a veil, if that kind of makes sense. So she'll kind of see that in the doorway and it kind of freaks her out. She doesn't want to go upstairs by herself. So the first time I felt a presence, therapy-wise, was I had a little kid coming for therapy, and when he left, I felt a presence behind me. So I'm typing up my progress notes, and I can feel this presence behind me, and I'm like, give me a freaking break, like I gotta do my notes, like leave me alone. I have the ability to cross over spirits that kind of are stuck here, so I think that particular spirit stayed with that boy. He came here, and then I was able to kind of cross him over. I've had people come in and they've made me really nauseous, and then I'll have to smudge myself. The first time it happened, actually, I messaged my spiritual teacher the next day because they woke me up in the middle of the night. And so I have narcolepsy, so I wake up in the middle of the night, so I'll eat a lot of times when I wake up. And so this one particular time I was eating Cheez-Its, and I just left the box on the floor next to my bed, and they knocked the box over, and they freaked me out. So I messaged her the next day, and I was like, oh my God, and I telling her the story. And I love her because she's like me, and she's, joked about, like, tell those Cheez-Its eating spirits to kind of leave you alone. And then she was the one who then explained to me that I have the ability to cross spirits over and how she does it. My last session. It was a Reiki session, and it was just solely to help this particular person relax because she was going to be going through something. She was really nervous about it. Long story short, we had to deal with black magic, and we had to deal with evil spirits because they were attached to her, and they were attached to her because they're attached to her friend. And so her friend probably doesn't know that she's kind of practicing bad stuff. When I feel them, what ends up happening is my third eye gets very blocked, so then I can't think. So as a therapist, you're using your brain and you're using your feelings to kind of process stuff with a client. And so if all of a sudden you can't think, there's not really much that you can do. And then I start to kind of feel like a heaviness, and then sometimes I'll feel nauseous. So Reiki is spiritual hands-on healing. The way that I describe it to people, it's kind of like acupuncture, but I don't need to use needles, and I don't need to know where the energy is going to go. So you get trained in Reiki, which is basically your ability to open up your channel to God and God's healing. And then you are able to kind of call that into your body, and then out of your hands. You can do it out of your eyes, but I think that's really weird. So I do my hands, out of your hands, and then, somebody's laying on the table, and I just put my hands on different body parts, and so then the energy will move around to kind of be released. So that deals with physical pain, emotional, psychological stuff. So I've had clients in therapy who were stuck in therapy who ended up doing a Reiki session, which then kind of brought to the surface something that they were repressing, that they weren't dealing with, that traditional psychotherapy methods couldn't get to. That Reiki then kind of pulled up and went, oh, okay, so now we have 5 sessions based on this issue, and now they're done with therapy.
I think one reason why people would stay around is to either see how things are going. Could be to remind people that, what happened, what is happening.
They have unfinished business, or because they died in a way where they weren't ready to die.
Somebody who just doesn't think that they deserve to cross over, souls that feel like they don't deserve to go to heaven or to cross over into spiritual realm.
Traumatic experiences keep you locked here on the spiritual plane instead of moving on.
Maybe they don't know where to go. Maybe they don't know what to do. Maybe they just, traumatic experiences. Maybe they're unhappy with where they're going. They don't know whether to go up or down, or even if that exists. Who knows? They linger